crew, while I'm out today, we're going to start talking about hipping or Hippo of sources with documents. I know some of you have experience with this, but it's just going to be a recap. And we're going to use a DBQ that's printed in the AMSCO book as practice. So if you need to go back like to the original source, that's where it comes from. So just a bit of a refresher. Hippo is an acronym that has to do with historical situation, intended audience, purpose, point of view, and outside information. And that O is off there because sometimes it's a once in a while thing. You don't usually use that one. And the other thing that I need to make clear is you don't, when you're writing a DBQ for College Board, you don't do all of these for every document every time. You need to do one of them well for each document. But for the purpose of today and getting practice with Hippo, we're going to do each of them for each of the documents. So the first document we're looking at is from an English bishop in 1698. He's talking about Peter I. He says he's desirous to understand our doctrine, but he did not seem disposed to mend matters in Muscovy. He was indeed resolved to encourage learning and to polish his people by sending some of them to travel in other countries and draw strangers to come live among them. He seemed apprehensive still, always, of his sister's intrigues. There was a mixture of both passion and severity in his temper. He is resolute, but understands little of war, and seemed not at all inquisitive that way. So we start going on to the different parts of his. So H, historical situation. It's 1698 when this bishop is writing this. Peter took the throne and became czar about 10 years prior. So the historical situation is that he has recently become czar. He had battled his sister in the Orthodox Church to gain the position. He's definitely more interested in the European industrial way of life than in continuing in this more Asian tradition. So that kind of sets the stage as to what's going on. Intended audience. So who would this bishop be writing to? It seems to be an explanation of his impressions of Peter. So he could be writing for a superior or maybe to a member of his own government. He is a bishop, so he's pretty high up there. He's definitely somebody important because he had access to Peter. I mean, this is the ruler of another nation. You don't get access, meeting other rulers unless you're pretty high up there. So what's the purpose? Why is he writing? He's informing somebody. He's telling somebody his impressions. His point of view. This guy's a bishop. He's probably interested in what this other ruler is, kind of doing. He sees Peter as inquisitive. He sees Peter as watchful of his sister because his sister was constantly attempting to dethrone him. So do you see how we're kind of going deeper than just what the document says? We're kind of going into the hows and the whys of it. So you should have a handout with you, and I ran through that pretty quick, so we can pause it and go back. But you should have a handout where it has the picture of the document and then a spot for you to write each of the hips. The one we didn't talk about was the O so far, so outside information. What outside information do we have? Well, we know that Peter is going to take a lot of this learning back to Russia, and he's going to enforce a lot of Western ideals about fashion, about beards, about writing, schooling. All of that stuff's going to kind of come along. Okay, for this second document, what I'd like you to do is call out to the sub each of the Hippo pieces. He's got a key, so he can follow along with you, but I kind of did the first one. I'd like you all as a class to attempt and check with the sub the second one. And then the directions are for documents 3 and 4 and 5. I'd like you to break into groups of 2 to 3 and work through those together. The idea is the last two documents, documents 6 and 7, you would do on your own, just to kind of test your understanding. Tomorrow, we will do the bucketing and the context and the thesis together in class, and then we will look at somebody else's attempt at this DBQ and kind of see if we can identify each of the parts in it. If you have questions, send me a message in Canvas.